Alright, this is my review of the 2023 Ozark Trail Ridge 29er mountain bike. It's a review and bike check. First of all, when I bought this thing recently, my wife gave me a budget of somewhere around $400, and I was looking at a number of different bikes. What I really wanted was a 27.5, and I almost got an Eastern Alpaca 27.5, but a couple of things I didn't like about it was the 175 millimeter cranks, which is a bit long for a mountain bike. It increases the pedal strikes, and the head tube was not tapered. And I feel that, I'm investing in this. Whatever I get, I'm going to have to keep for a long time because we're on a budget. So if I'm going to upgrade the forks, I want to be able to upgrade with whatever I want. And there's a good many forks out there that are tapered. So I wanted to make sure I had that. Now I was also looking at the Schwinn Axum DP, which I did like because of the dropper post. It also had a 180 millimeter front disc rotor and 2.6 inch tires. But I was running into availability problems. There was just usually they were sold out, and also they use a 175 millimeter crank, which I didn't like. And another reviewer complained about the low bottom bracket height, and that is a concern for me. I come from a trials background. I really appreciate a trials background, and also I've been riding BMX bikes a good bit. So I do appreciate a nice high bottom bracket, and so that kind of eliminated those two bikes that were in my price range. So I ended up with an Ozark Trail Ridge 29er. I ordered it, had it sent to the house in a box. I pulled it out and put it together. Didn't have any problems with that. Now, I will say that the brakes gave me a lot of trouble. I just couldn't get them to stop rubbing a little bit, but it wasn't a big enough rub that it was actually hindering me riding. So what I did was I just let them bed in a little bit and break in, and then after a couple of weeks I adjusted them again, and they're perfect now. Gears were perfect to begin with. After my first ride I had to adjust them, but ever since then gears have been perfect. It's a 9-speed. I don't really care between 8 and 9 speed. You can get everything you need just from an 8-speed, I think. And this 9-speed is perfect for me. I don't really feel a need to have like 11, 12, 10 speeds. I think there's a limit to that. At some point they're going to stop. But, personally I thought 7-speed was fine. But 7-speed is back there with free wheels and things like that, and I do appreciate a cassette. I've been riding mountain bikes with cassettes since the early 90s, and it's really nice because when you replace things, you're just replacing the sprockets, and they come off real easy. And if you want to mix and match or whatever, you can do that if they're not all put together. If they're loose, you can put on there what you want. I really like that. And the cassette rear end is a much stronger rear end. I have bent a few axles on a freewheel bike, so I do know that I don't like freewheel bikes when it comes to multiple gears. So yeah, there you go, cassette. Now, where do we go from here? One of the things that bothers me about some of these reviews is that we don't get into the geometry and the specs very good. I think there was one or maybe one reviewer that I know of off the top of my head that he will give you geometry. I like to measure this stuff myself, and like I said before, bottom bracket height is very important to me. When I started mountain biking in 1984, most bikes were 11.5 inches. That was just kind of standard. There were a few that were lower. I don't remember any that were higher, but you know, I grew up in Georgia, and my dad, he just cut some trails through the woods for me for my mountain bike, and he left the trees laying there. So I had to jump logs and stuff, and so I appreciated a nice high bottom bracket. And since I've been riding adult BMX bikes, like 26 inchers, 29ers, most BMX bikes have a 12 or 12 plus inch bottom bracket height, and I really appreciate that. It especially helps with BMX bikes because they have long cranks. Most of the time they're running 175, 180 millimeter cranks. So now for mountain biking, 170 is just fine. The extra leverage is, I mean, it would be nice for climbing hills, but you increase your pedal strikes big time. So I'm glad that the Ozark Trail has 170 millimeter crank arms. I measured it, about 12.25 inch bottom bracket height. I'm very happy about that. I didn't try sitting on it and having somebody measure it. I know that this fork will compress a little bit, but as it sits, 12 plus is very nice. We have 17.25 inch chain stays. Very good. You can see that tire is nice and tucked in there. Makes it much easier to climb on this bike. Like I said, I started mountain biking in '84. Most mountain bikes at that time were 18.5 inch chain stays, and you really had to put your butt back behind that saddle to get some traction to get up hills. So I'm very happy that it has a nice short chain stays. We have a 24-inch top tube. That's quite long. And actually, I had to change the stem. The stem was 60 millimeters. It was just way too far out there for me. I will say, coming off of a BMX cruiser, it is nice to have that nice long top tube, give you some room to move around. But with the BMX cruisers, I was not going as far. Plus, those stems are nice and short, and much higher riser bars. So I had to change the stem. I did a Amazon find, pretty cheap stem. They claimed it was 35 millimeter. I measured it. It was 40 millimeter. I also changed the handlebars. There again, they claimed it was 50 millimeters. Ended up being about 40. but that made it more comfortable for me. My 53-year-old back and neck and shoulders. It's still not that much farther above the saddle here. I feel like I could go to a 50 millimeter riser bar and probably be a little bit more comfortable. I'm just going to stay with this for a while because I'm on a budget. So, see here, what else? I measured the angles. Head tube angle is 67 degrees. Seat tube angle 73. Nice. Nice. I've ridden a lot of bikes that hovered around the 70 degree range. It is nice for on the road and on smooth trails, but when things get rough, you really need something a little bit more stable. 29-inch wheels, coming off of 26ers. It was a bit much to get used to. I mean, I've had a 29er, I've had a framed 29er BMX bike before, but I wasn't doing very much technical stuff. I wasn't riding the trails and things like that. I was just riding around town, jumping things. This is a little bit different. When I had the Sub Rosa Salvador 26, I was actually going mountain biking with it. I actually did quite well, considering that it's, you know, what its limitations are. I couldn't lower the gearing any, so it was kind of rough going up hills, and I only had a U-brake in the rear, and U-brakes are not very powerful. So, coming off of that, this was a little bit of a change. I don't know if you noticed the pedals. I actually took the pedals off of my Sub Rosa Salvador because I had run some drywall screws into them and cut them off in order to get them a little bit more grippy. I was selling the Sub Rosa Salvador, so I did not want to be liable for somebody else's injuries. So I just took the stock pedals off the Ozark trail and put it on that in order to sell it. And I'm running this. These are great. They grip wonderfully. However, my son has asked for a pair of purple pedals for his bike, and I'm going to put purple pedals on his and then take these off of his bike. These are just some cheap Amazon pedals, but they do have some nice studs on there to grip your feet. I'm going to put those on this thing and then set these aside, these ramp pedals aside. Oh, let's see here. Alright, I run 20 psi in the front, 25 in the rear for this bike. I was running a lot higher pressures. I think I was doing 30 front, 35 rear. That's kind of insane. I kept bringing it down a bit to see what I felt like, because before I bought this bike, I actually test rode somebody else's Ozark Trail Ridge, and I did not like the experience, and I think it really was about the tires. I was not used to the 29-inch tires, plus he was running very low tire pressures, and I think they were just a bit too grippy on the trail. It was harder to make the turns. 25 rear, 20 front, I think that's just perfect. And I do like these tires. These are what? Kenda's they don't have like a model name or anything, but I really like them because they shed mud and sand very easily. They don't hold on to it. And growing up in Georgia, that means a lot to me, because that good old red clay will stick in your tires and will not leave. But I'm really enjoying this bike. I've been riding it with my sons. You see, my youngest son has a Radio Zuma 24. My oldest son has this Black Cat, which is it looks like it's a Korean or Japanese market mountain bike, but it's got all the good stuff. It's got mechanical disc brakes. It's got an 8-speed cassette rear hub. I changed it from a triple chain ring to a single, and I also put my handlebars and stem off of my ridge on it, because its stem was too long and the handlebars were very narrow. They're only about 26 inches, which my oldest son felt was a little uncomfortable. So I have these cut down to about 27 and a half. I think they work really good for him. So this fork, this is okay fork. I cranked the preload all the way up. I'm having a little trouble getting used to a fork. Coming off of BMX cruisers, I had a rigid fork. I rode the trails with a rigid fork. I really didn't have a problem with it. So I'm getting used to this. It's definitely a process. Now, something I will say about, I prefer, since I've ridden motorcycles all my life, I prefer my front brake to be on the right, just like on a motorcycle. So I switched the brakes around. I really didn't have any problem routing the cable through the frame. Now this little plastic thing right here was very difficult to get out. It was a pain in the butt. But once I moved it, see, I moved this rear to the other side, on the side that would normally be the dropper post there. I moved it that way so that it's not rubbing on the frame. See, now you look at it either side, not rubbing at all. So I had no problems. I ran that thing down there. I have a tool over here. This tool right here. I just put it in there and pulled it out, and it came out just beautifully. I didn't have to use a magnet or anything. Now you will notice here I kind of differed. I did not put it inside the chainstay, and the reason for that is there is a nice little kink where it comes out, because unlike the shifter cable on the other side that comes out the top, this comes out on the inside right here. And so there's a nice little kink in the cable where it comes over to get up to the caliper. And I did not like that. With cable brakes, you cannot kink the cable at all very much, or it will have trouble. Not only will you feel a lot of resistance in pulling the brake, but it will have trouble returning. And so what I did, I was already going to wrap the chainstay with inner tube to protect it. So I just ran the cable up along the bottom, and then gradually up right to the caliper, and then wrapped it with inner tube so that it's a nice smooth bend going up. And I think that works a lot better. I don't know why they decided to bring the cable out on the inside like that. They could have done it through the top, just like on the other side, and that would have been just fine. Now, as you can tell, I've decorated this thing a little bit. got me some paint pens, made this thing personal. Nobody's going to be able to, they're not going to have a doubt in their mind that this is my bike. That flat surface, that flat paint, gray paint takes paint pen very well. And I've done a bike in paint pen before. I had an early 90s Mongoose Eibach bike. It had black front fork and that marbled red paint finish. And what I did was took the fork and put the blue on there and the white stars for the star part. And then I put big stripes on it across the frame for the stripes part of the flag, for an American flag. It was very good looking, very unique. Like I said, nobody could be mistaken to think that it was somebody else's. It was definitely mine. I've done all kinds of doodles all over the frame. Cross of my Lord and Savior. My youngest son loves whale sharks, so I've got that. My oldest son has a bearded dragon, so I've got that. My oldest son loves steampunk things, so I have steampunk gears here. There's a little bit of Star Wars. My wife loves dragonflies, so I put that on there. But I'm sure that that's not exactly what you want to hear. This is a very nice riding bike. I was surprised. Once I got used to the taller wheels, I really enjoy riding this bike. It is smooth. I don't have any problem with the gears. I wrap the chain stays, so I don't really have to worry about chain slap that much. I've not had any any chain drops. Even riding some pretty rough stuff here in the Florida Panhandle, we have those pine roots that go across the trail, and it can get pretty rough going across them, and I've not had a chain drop. The derailleur shifts like it's supposed to. Now, me being a retro grouch, I would much prefer a thumb shifter, but these things work great. I really don't have any complaints. It's a nice, for what it is a light bike. I'm sure I can get it lighter by changing the crank one day, which I'm just going to wear that sprocket out before I change cranks, and I will get a lighter crank. Wheels, I have no complaints. The wheels were nice and straight when I got it. I would like a dropper post eventually, and thank God it has provision for a dropper post. So, but yes. Okay. My youngest son is coming in to hang out with me. So anyways, there's provision for dropper posts, so eventually I can do that. I like the back of the seat post having these numbers on it, so that when I do drop my post on the trail, I can get it back up to where I had it, which for me is right around 5. So overall, I'm very impressed. Eventually I will probably get an air fork. Not a big fan of the Suntour coil fork, but it does its job, so not really a problem. I have a bell for other trail users to make sure they know that I'm coming along. My youngest crashes so much and breaks bells, so I just decided to get a whole box of them from Amazon. think there's 10 or 12 of them in there. So I won't ever lack for bells. So, but that's my review. That's my, as you can see, I put a good bit of reflective stuff on here, some reflective spoke straws and things like that. I want to be able to be seen at night, because we go to the skate park at night and play around. I don't want to get hit if I can help it. I've got some lights that are easy to, I mean, they light up pretty darn good, and they are rechargeable. So put that bottle cage on there. That makes a big difference. I really hate having a camelback. I'd much rather use a bottle cage. So really can't think of anything else to say about this bike. But there just wasn't that much out there. You know, when you're interested in a bike, you want to see as many videos about it as possible, and there's like maybe 4 or 5 videos, if that. And so just wanted to make this review and bike check, let you see my bike, see what I did with it. I'm sure you like my my bike rack system there. I just kind of ran a loop for a rope from the garage, what is that called? Garage door opener. And then I use a kitchen trash can to hold it in place so it doesn't swing around. And then I can do whatever I need to do on it. I can work on that. If I need to, I can pull the scooter forward, and so I can work on the gears, roll the gears forward, whatever. It works, and I don't have to pay $50 for a bike stand. All right, thank you, and thanks for watching. And I hope that this helps you if you're considering an Ozark Trail Ridge bicycle. And thank you. You say goodbye.